The Area 3 Championships was last week, and I've got all the footage, so now it's both of our problems to figure out what to do with it. As sort of a culmination of this year's shooting festivities and roughly 30 USPSA matches later, and one of my best performances to date, so this is a good time to take stock considering my first USPSA match was in March and it is now October, and to see what we need to work on for the rest of the year until the season starts anew. And yes, I am still doing this because I personally find it funny. Starting out with stage 12, which is what you're seeing right now, unfortunately this first run simply didn't count because one of those big steals did not fall even though I center punched it and then won the calibration. This stage is a little tricky with a fast swinger. Overall, my first run, which was in about 16 seconds, I had to reshoot it, and of course the only time I didn't go 1-for-1 on steal was during a reshoot, so my 16-second run went to a 20-second run with one mic on the second time where it actually counted. Why a standing reload on a swinging target when I had more than 5 rounds left in the magazine? I don't know, don't ask me. Somehow that run was still good enough for roughly 70% overall and 45th out of 320 shooters. No real problems with stage 14, just not being confident in my doubles, over-confirming, slow transitions, time of about 6.4 seconds, good enough for 48th overall and about 80%. Stage 15 was a 2-position, 3 per target stage where I had 12 out of 12 alphas on it, good for again about 80% overall, just a little slower than it should have been with one extra round in the black out of a force of habit. Stage 16 was the first stage of the day that felt really clean. I went 1-for-1 on all of the steal, couple little makeup shots in there, but the thing that really hurt my time was on the disappearing targets through the door. You can see I timed the first 2 just fine. I'm either too slow for the second turner, or it just went a little slower than it went for everybody else's. One extra makeup shot at the end, and overall, a pretty clean run. Unfortunately, only 48th on that stage with 84% overall, 22 alphas, 10 charlies, no deltas, but still a little too many charlies for the speed in which I'm shooting. No. Stage 16 was actually executed fairly well up until the last 2 rounds. Very hard lean. The first shot was a full penetration through the wood, and unfortunately I sent an extra 2 rounds making up alphas with alphas on a very slow swinging target, so what would have been a sub 10-second run ended up right at 12 seconds, so I probably lost 30 places on that stage alone, good for about 72%. But again, that is just me not being confident with my shot placement. 13 alphas, 2 charlies on that stage, and way too many makeup shots that cost me at least 2 seconds on a 10-second stage. Unfortunately, stage 1 could have been really good, but I got confused by too many targets and too many ports, so I started just shooting at things as they became available, and unfortunately did not call a mic right there on that target through the port there, so it would have been still An okay run turned pretty mediocre. As you can see, I just start shooting at something because it's available, even though that's not the order that I planned to do it in my head. Still went 1-for-1 on steel, so other than the mic and the strange order of target engagement, could have been a good stage. Overall, 87th on that stage with a 70% with, again, one mic. I could have done that in a couple seconds faster, quite easily, and of course not had that mic for a much higher placement. Now, as you can probably tell, stage 2 also did not go according to plan. I had it worked out basically perfectly in my head. I go back to do another makeup shot on that target that I did not need, execute the reload, send 4 shots onto this back target, 3 alphas, 1 no-shoot. I made up an alpha with another alpha and then did the no-shoot. Don't ask me why I did that, because once again, I don't know either. Finished up on this target. Once again, could have been a very clean, very fast run. Instead, 95th with a 66%, which I think might be one of my worst for the day, with 18 alphas, 5 charlies, and fortunately 1 no-shoot. Way too much time not being confident in my shots, forgetting exactly what I was supposed to do in the middle when I have all these targets arrayed. Sometimes I get scared in crowded placements.
And I have to shoot through a crowd of people to defend myself.
Stand by.
Now, stage 3 utilizes a modified 180, meaning roughly a 270 degree area of fire. For some reason, I stopped there in the middle instead of taking that target at the end, because I was, again, a little bit unconfident in the amount of rounds needed for the end of the stage, so I wanted to take more rounds in the beginning, so I had more in the second mag at the end. Once again, I made up a alpha at the end with a delta that I absolutely did not need. I made up a second round up close that I did not need. Even so, on that stage, that was good for 27th overall. What really held me back on that stage, however, was the hits. 23 alphas, 5 charlies, and 4 deltas. The speed was all right. The planning, the execution was not quite there. Too many makeup shots, and just the hits weren't really there to begin with. Stage 4 is a weekend only stage, and I am never knowing what to do with my feet, so I was way too late on the swinger, sent a couple extra rounds just to make sure I had the hits there. That was not particularly good at 60th overall, 64%, because I had 5 alphas, 2 charlies, 1 delta in a time of 7 seconds. Should have been faster, hits should have been better. You could easily clear that in under 5 seconds if you actually do the thing with your foot. Stage 5 was pretty good, 21st overall in a time of 6.35 seconds, 8 alphas, 2 charlies, not particularly complicated. Now, stage 6 was basically all wrong for me. There is a correct way to run the stage, which actually involves starting in the front and running back so that you don't have to run around awkwardly at the end. A few makeup shots, 1 makeup shot on steel, a little bit of an awkward reload, and you can see me shuffle around the outside, which takes a bit, almost re-engage a target I've already shot, and then finish up with the last 2. Not particularly clean. That's good for 48th place, 78% overall, time of 22 seconds. 20 alphas, 6 charlies, so at least the hits were decent. Stage 7 had a little bit of bad stage planning as well. 32nd overall, 77%, 25 alphas, 3 Charlies. So the hits were decent, but I was not moving into the positions as I should. I got way too deep when I didn't need to. Slow on the reload, basically standing here at the end to finish up with these 3 targets. And there is a much more efficient way to take the stage. This is one of those tricky ones where there's essentially one right way to take the stage, and I didn't do it that way. Now this stage was actually my worst stage of the match, where I took 210th place. Not because the timing was off, but because that last target I actually mic'd on, because there were 8 targets in a row, and usually when there's a lot of targets that I have to engage at a time, I end up dipping shots on the last or putting in too much input into my hands, and so I quite literally sailed around just underneath the target, noticed it, dropped the mag, made it up with one hand. Probably not worth the time, but there weren't many points to go around in that stage for me to begin with. So it was a slow time with 3 alphas, 4 Charlies, and 1 Delta. Hits were terrible. The original time would have been very good if I had put something on paper there, but 210th overall, at least it was on a low point stage. Stage 9 was actually my best stage of the day. Same round count, but just getting into position quickly and getting those shots off fast was good enough for 18th place at 80% with 8 alphas. Unfortunately, on this stage, yet again, there is a completely unnecessary makeup shot that adds a 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. Other than that, I go 1 for 1 for steal with 18 alphas, 3 Charlies. Decent stage run, but unfortunately, there was a makeup shot because I didn't feel confident, so I stepped back to shoot it again when I didn't need to, and I should have just kept going. That was good enough for 45th overall with a 75%. Now, stage 11, funnily enough, was also the stage where the lady had the P320 go off in her holster. Both the all 3 of the arrows on that stage were all quite good. Here you can see in the middle where I slowed down a lot to take a very tricky 5 target array that you have to be very particular at your footwork. This one here was a pretty good stage. I felt, I believe, 33rd overall with a 78%, 22 alphas, 8 Charlies, and 1 Delta on the far target that you're going to see, which was also the makeup shot. So I'm pretty sure I actually needed that 3rd shot. So I've actually run this stage before because this is one of Aaron's stages who is local to me. I felt pretty clean about it, but you can see this target array here in the middle is just a little bit particular to actually get all 5, so you don't accidentally re-engage one while missing one, which a couple of the competitors ended up doing. Just a little bit slower, I could have probably taken it faster, so on and so forth. If you're interested, I was shooting the now openly gay CZ Shadow 2. This is a fully Cajunized gun with a absolutely disgusting double action to single action design, where the single action is sitting at under 2 pounds. Probably why it's the only USPSA gun with a kill count, but also has a primary machine work slide, optics cut, so on and so forth, big heavy brass grips. It's a really decent gun for this type of thing. Maybe not my favorite overall, but it certainly did the job. After approximately 6 months of taking USPSA semi-seriously, 82% overall, 37 out of 324, 12th in carry optics. Pretty good, but I left a lot of points on the table. I could shave off almost 10 full seconds just with makeup shots, and there were some other execution errors in there as well. So running a completely clean course, which of course, doesn't always happen, so you can't always say, well, oh, if I had ran things clean, it would have been better. But I do think there is a lot of performance that I'm leaving on the table if I can just clean up some of those really, really simple mistakes, and obviously being better at the fundamentals shouldn't hurt. So as of this year, I'll be ending roughly in an M state in carry optics, Hopefully into next year, we'll actually progress into a GM sort of status. Instead of the top 30, 40 shooters, I'd like to be somewhere in the top 10 range. And instead of, mid 80s, I'd like to be in the mid 90s in terms of percentages. But those are the goals for next year. And so we'll see how all that pans out. So with all that out of the way, gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one, whether you like it or not. God bless.